The Box Seat, brought to you by our stable of sponsors. Hi everyone, welcome to this week's edition of Your Box Seat. Yes, brought to you by our stable of sponsors. Matthew Cross is in the house. Thanks so much for your time, Matt. Looking forward to talking about all things Addington Raceway and also this build-up to the race by Grins. Just got a little bit more spicy.
Yeah, it has, Greg. It's always nice to jump in when Michael Guerin decides to take a little bit of a holiday. I guess we in the industry always think that there's a little bit of a lull in terms of the racing and the excitement, but then there's always something to bring us back up again, and the race by Grins is certainly that. So looking forward to it. Big week coming up. And we're only 223 days away from Cup Day as well, if you didn't already realise that, Greg. So the season is going by fairly quickly and plenty to delve into over the next week or so.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get straight into it. What can you expect on this week's Box Seat? We kick things off by having a look at the Addington Group Race review from last Friday night, including the Group 1 performance of Muscle Mountain. Easter Saturday night preview, we've got all of the wrap-up from the summer races where the horses get a chance to race for some good stakes on Saturday night. Kindergarten Stakes Day on Thursday. Cambridge, well, they have an exceptional race night on Thursday night, including the Flying Mile and the Race by Grins update for you. Stonewall ownership opportunities, as we showed you last week, got another 4 this week, and the hand milking best bets. So a lot to get through. Let's get straight into it. Go back to Addington Raceway from last Friday night. This is the Fred Shaw Memorial New Zealand Trotting Championship. Muscle Mountain had won it 2 years prior. He joins a very elite group to have won the race on 2 occasions. Here's Matt Cross bringing them home, and post-race we talked to co-trainer Greg Hope.
Muscle Mountain 2.5 clear. Artie by the Hill trying hard the inside. It's Muscle Mountain holding off Artie by the Hill. The heir apparent is home. Muscle Mountain gets his 3rd Group 1 and beats home Artie by the Hill.
He joins a really elite club of horses that have won this race twice.
Yeah, no, he's a super horse. He's an elite horse too. So yeah, we run out of things to say about him really. He can sprint and stay, and you know, like today we run it close, but I think Ben learnt a little bit from it. Probably should have rolled along a little bit harder and made it more of a staying test, but you know, a win's a win.
Yep. And at Group 1 level you only have to go fast enough to win. He heads north now, Greg. Talk us through the program. When does he head up there?
He's going to go probably the 16th, I think. We're booked on with Majestic to go up, and we're taking 2 or 3 others. We're planning on probably Midnight Dash will probably go for the Grins night. He'll go up on the 8th, but and then I see they've made us a couple of stands up there, which 2-2 stands, which shouldn't be a problem to him, I didn't think. Yep.
All right. Well, he's certainly top of the pops at the moment, and to grab another Group 1 win with him here, they're pretty special, aren't they?
Oh yeah, definitely, and especially for Ben and his son driving it, it's it can't come much better, you know.
All right, 19th Group 1 win for Nina and Greg Hope as a partnership, and we'll see later on they got to a milestone of 800 career wins. He's just simply too good for them at the moment. Matthew looked really good, I thought, in the second. Artie by the Hill, spoke to John Dunn about him. He goes north now too. Midnight Dash, unfortunately, post-race had a bleed, so he's been stood down for 30 days, so we won't see him in that race Greg referred to, the mile next week. And I thought Oscar Bonavina was excellent. Early gallop, uncharacteristic for him, but he was pretty good after.
I think he has been one of the most well-managed open class trotters that I've seen, Greg. There's obviously been the odd time where the Hopes and Ian Dobson and the team would have had some sort of temptation to throw him in the deep end, but I think through those times where they did take a bit of a step back and be patient with him, they're going to reap the rewards, particularly over the next 12 months. Greg's right. If they had gone a little bit harder during the middle part, he may have won it a little easier. They did run 27 down the back. Artie by the Hill is a horse that keeps getting better, and he's incredibly versatile. He can sprint, and as we saw in the Dominion Handicap when he ran 4th, he can stay as well. So he's not without a chance of picking up one of the Group 1s over the next 12 months. There's plenty for them to look forward to. Lyell Creek Stakes over 2,200 metres is going to be interesting if they go there with that 20-metre back mark. Then to the National Trot on the 28th of April, the Anzac Cup 2,200 metres stand with a back mark of 20 metres, and then of course the big one they're all going for on the 26th of May, the Rowe Cup over the 2 mile. But he's the horse to beat at the moment. I think if Oscar Bonavena had have trotted out of the gate, he could have made it a little bit interesting, because I think on pure speed over 400 metres, there's not too many that can match him for pace. And for a horse who has probably in the past been not one-dimensional, but we've seen his best when he's been able to be cuddled up and have one last run at them. He sat parked for the last mile, and to be fair, stuck on quite bravely. So looking forward to seeing this crop all head north, and then when they all sit heading around the right-handed way at Alexandra Park. But at the moment, there's only one horse they have to beat.
Yeah, absolutely. He's low-flying, no doubt about that at all. It was about 7 seconds slower than what Sunday Sun went the previous year, but you only have to go fast enough to win, and there was some criticism about Ben not going fast enough. He still won, and that's all you have to do. One of the horses he'll be meeting in the north is this guy, Aldebaran Zeus. He went to Melton on Saturday night. He was expected to win, Matthew, but Bullion Harry got the business done at long odds. This is Chris Lang, Daryl Douglas. In front here, Aldebaran Zeus. He was pretty short on tote-wise, but he managed to just get beaten in the shadows of the post. You'd imagine that was his first run in a wee while, and he will derive plenty out of it. And of course, a trip over here too should make quite a big difference. But he'll add something to that carnival for sure. Having a look at the national trot market for you, Muscle Mountain $1.45. That's pretty stock standard for everything he's in now. $9 for Aldebaran Zeus. Five Wise Men at $13. Oscar Bonavena the same, $21. Basically the rest, and of course Artie by the Hill also at $9. All right, let's leave those free-for-all trotters for now and have a look at last week's Fahey Fence Hire free-for-all. Here's Bollinger. Now, he sat in the 1-1 behind the leader at the moment, the Falcon. I thought Bollinger's really stepped up, hasn't he? First up win against his own sort of class, Matthew, was fine, but this was next level, wasn't it?
It was, but in saying that, look, I don't think that he was the best horse in the race, Bollinger. I think he got the best run into it. When you look at the race, 4 of the first 5 home did nothing early, which makes the run of Beach Ball look even better, and we'll talk about him later on with a view to his run last Sunday as well. So Bollinger got the right run into it. You have to really respect the run of the Falcon, who wasn't all that far away and behind, and good to see He's a Sport hitting the line quite nicely. But it was set up, Greg, for something who was getting that right cart into the race after Krug took his hook in the prelim and had run his race by the time he headed into the first corner, running a 23 and change lead time, was always going to set it up for something out the back. But he's always been the sort of horse that follows a good clip and should only improve off those 2 runs, Greg. And it will be interesting to see what happens with Bollinger now, whether they chance their arm with him for a trip north to races like the Taylor Mile and the Messenger, because at the moment he certainly looks like he would hold his own.
Yeah, understand he may well be under offer, Matthew, so don't really want to see another one go offshore, but he certainly looks a very progressive type. Let's hope he can stay here, so if he does come out this week, obviously that deal might be done. This is the Coca-Cola Superstars, the former traditional race for just the 4-year-olds, then it became 4- and 5-year-olds. So let's have a look at the market for it, get your thoughts around them, Matthew. We have Mossdale Bennett around $10, the Falcon $6.50, Bollinger $5, Beach Ball $4.80, Cora Valley Star, who was slightly down on his best last week, he's $16, Mighty Louie at 11s, One Change, who was brilliant winning here last time, an excellent time beating Mighty Louie at $4.80, and then the 2 off the back row. He's a Sport, who won a great race last week, albeit off a pretty handy sort of a run, and Heisenberg, both of those at $11. Good contest, isn't it? Really hard to line up who will actually even start favourite in this.
I think your gate speed, Greg, is probably going to come from a horse like a Beach Ball. I wouldn't anticipate that they'll use up Cora Valley Star off the gate like they have been over the shorter trips. So you can probably look at Beach Ball as being the horse to go forward. This horse has been going great guns. Could there be a concern about him third run in 8 days with reference to his times in recent goes, Greg? You go back to that 1980 race, on the Ultimate Racebook, has gone 153.4 for his last mile. Backed that up with his run on Sunday in the Cheviot Cup, which was ginormous. He should not have got as close as what he did. He's run his last mile and a half in 2:54, chasing hard for the first lap and a half of the race. And then to peel a 25 and change last quarter to come from off the speed was a phenomenal run from him. 2,600 metres, he's a big grouse horse. Being a colt, I guess some form analysts could look at it like being a bit of a concern, third run in 8 days, but he's going to be hard to beat. One change I think profiles beautifully, Greg. Mobile conditions always suit him. He'll go back, he'll smoke his pipe, and he's very fast over that last 400 metres. He went 3.8, like you said, here last time out, so he's a horse that's really going well. Mighty Louis probably bubbling under those two. And I guess the two horses off the inside, Anything Goes and Mossdale Ben, will be looking to put their hand up against these fairly talented horses. But if I had to go in one, Greg, I think one change from the outside of the gate, he'll go back, they'll go hard up front, and he'll swoop over the top.
Yeah, look, it's an excellent edition of the Coca-Cola Superstars, 40th running of this race, and gee, even in the last 10 years, horses like Lazarus and Chris and Me took it out. Field Marshal, there's two horses that went on and won Miracle Miles, and of course the Mighty Laz won everything that he basically went into. So looking forward to that. We also have the Sire Stakes heat, Matthew, which Don't Stop Dreaming returns. And let's have a look at Triple G getting the job done. He had to sit park for the last lap. He was fresh up. I know you really like this horse, and this is a strong performance running down Major Talk.
Yeah, fresh up as well. I thought at the 200 that his condition might have just faded a little bit, but then the last 100 metres, he's a horse who can clearly stay and he's very willing. What I like about him is they've got all of the steering gear off the offside of him. When he came to his debut run, he was just a bit of an awkward horse wanting to lean on that pole on the offside, but now he looks a lot more tractable. He's a very robust horse. The concern for him, I guess, is drawn outside of Don't Stop Dreaming, but in his favour, he does have the race day fitness, whereas Don't Stop Dreaming hasn't had a trial heading into the Sire Stakes heat. I think between Don't Stop Dreaming, Triple G, and probably OK Boomer with how he ran last time out, they'll be running themselves around the Quinella trifecta options. And Coney Island Blue off Barry number 2 does look the likely early leader. I'd be surprised if one of Don't Stop Dreaming or Triple G didn't win. I guess we're going to get a good guide with the market around where Don't Stop Dreaming is at, but I don't particularly think that they'll be using him up off the gate in a fresh up state.
Yeah, bookies have opened $1.50 for Don't Stop Dreaming. He looks really hard to beat, although he hasn't had a trial, so he will be in need of it, you would think. $8 Coney Island Lou, $10 Final Collect. Interests me a little bit. Triple G at $9, Vinca B 18, $9 for OK Boomer. So that's the Garrard Sire Stakes heat. Looking forward to that one. The Racing Rewards races we talked about at the top of the show. Let's have a look through those. They race for $27,000. Here's Royden Muscle. Well, he just keeps on going great races. He's stringing the wins together. It won't be so easy this week, Matthew, because he has to come off the 20 metres, but you can only win, and he keeps on doing that.
He's always been a quirky horse, Greg. He often wants to lug up the track. Well, in the past, we saw that the tractability of him wasn't quite there, but he seems to have really switched on. Chris McDowell, obviously, now at his new property out there in Leaston, and this horse may be a benefactor of that Royden Muscle. But the ability's always been there. Robbie Holmes drives him with confidence, and to be fair at the handicaps, he's not all that bad. Greg, this is another horse that's going great. Bella Button, I think, well, I was just about going to make her the best bet of the night, Bella Button. She draws on the second row in the earlier race for the rewards. And then I think she'll get a nice run through at the start. Mark Jones has placed this horse beautifully, and I think she'll just about get another win on the board.
Yeah, I reckon she'll be pretty hard to beat too. It took a nice one in Tectonic, who is clearly a horse with enormous ability to get past it last time. So, yeah, I'm with you around Bella Button. And just back to that ninth race, gee, it's a deep, deep race. You've got horses like Tutangata, Vertigo, Cody Banner, who won last time, Maui, who's always to be respected, Miss Alyssa, Spells of Love. So all of those form lines coming together over the last 3 months make it really challenging for the punters, and will certainly be a challenge for the bookmakers. Those markets will be out probably late morning on Thursday, as we don't have racing on Friday, of course. They'll get those markets out to you nice and early so you can have a play into those. Just want to go back to Sunday, Matthew, and get your thoughts around the Leonard Memorial, and congratulations to Brett Gray and the Simons winning with Always Ticking. Had to do it pretty tough too.
She did, parked out and kept giving. Another horse that was bred by Dave and Sylvia Thompson that Robert and Sharon Simon have purchased. American Airtime, the half-sister to this filly, they purchased out of their stable and has done a great job down in the south as well. The pink colours that we've become so accustomed to, they don't necessarily always go for the extremely well-bred horses. And I know, chatting to Robert around the Central Circuit over Christmas time, he just loves watching them race. He's not bothered what they're by, and he just likes to go to the races and see his horse winning. And it was great to see them there on course on Sunday as well. So she's a filly with a future, Greg, and for her to park out and win so well, we look forward to seeing what she can do in the upcoming season.
Yep, definitely some good runs just in behind as well. Let's go to the Pacing Racing Rewards. Here's Franco Cornell. Now, he was sitting parked outside, a pretty smart horse here in Final Collect who goes into the Sire Stakes heat. So he was brave. He goes to 2,600 metres. I spoke to John Dunn about him, and he was pretty keen on his chances, Matthew, because most in this field he should take care of.
Yeah, best bet. Simple, Greg. He'll be winning. I think Franco Cornell, race number 3, you can lock him in. Wait for the bookies to put the market up, because whatever they put up is the best price that you're going to get. So best of the night, Greg. I'm happy to go with him.
All right, I'm pretty keen on it as well. Let's have a look at Teresa Love. Now, you're looking for the horse in the Regan Todd colours. Robbie Close aboard. Big week coming up for Robbie. He's getting married on Thursday, I think it is. This is her ducking back to the inside. Have a look at her last 100 metres. So Triple G, we've already seen this video, but you need to focus hard in on Teresa Love here. OK Boom is storming home wide out. Very similar last 800 metres off the clock, both home in about 55 seconds. I thought she was a pretty good bet in this, Matthew, the 7th on the program, the Original Sin Racing Rewards Showcase.
And she's got form around Coney Island Lou as well, who in turn has got form around Ahoka Connor. And that's some of the best form that you'll find in Canterbury with this sort of grade at the moment. I reckon 2,600 is up her alley. If Robbie can time his run with her to perfection, then she's got most of them for class and most of them for pure speed. I guess the thing against her, Greg, would be if something comes out and leads, they really back it off and run a 64, 65 middle half and sprint home. I don't think they will with the stakes on, but when you're backing horses like Teresa Love, you're backing them and hoping that that middle half is run at a good speed, because if it is, she's good enough to overcome it.
Yeah, absolutely she is. So looking forward to her getting an economical trip, and that will make her tough to beat. Let's have a look at Classy Link in the final of the Pacing Racing Rewards. This one with Kong. That's her in front. She's been in great form, Matthew. Getting down the outside and getting home to beat her was Hey Tonight, but she was pretty brave because she actually did a bit of work to get the lead. There were about 4 or 5 leaders in this race.
She's had a fair bit of racing recently, Classy Link, and although you'd look at her form and say, yes, she might be one of the horses to beat, there's a couple of very talented mares that lob into that race, Greg. And I speak of a horse like Jazelle. The way that Jazelle has been going, I would be surprised if they didn't open her up as the favourite. And Dancing Desire is another one who's very tough as well. So I'd be leaning towards a Jazelle or a Dancing Desire, to be fair, Greg, in the 10th.
Yeah, and I reckon Giselle's performance behind No Matter What, who we now know has taken that last slot in the race by Grins, was good enough to win this race. And I reckon if you can just save her up for one run, she's pretty potent. And if Gavin Smith is able to do that, then I think Giselle, I'm with you, can take out the final of the Racing Rewards races. Terrific program, Addington Raceway, Saturday afternoon. They've ended up with 11 races, the first of those at 1:34. And as I said, those markets out late morning Thursday for the 11 race program there out of Addington. As I mentioned before, milestone day it was on Sunday for the Hope team. Greg and Nina Hope, along with their son Ben, got together with Jack Tarr, and they got win number 800 in their training partnership. Of course, 108 wins prior to that for Greg, so they're 11th on the all-time list at this stage, and Jack Tarr brought up 800 for them.
Jack Tarr just in front, and Nina Hope has done it. There's 800.
Welcome back into your box seat. Here's an opportunity for you. Ever thought about going stateside and taking in some of the yearling sales and of course some stakes racing? Well, you can do it with a guy who has enormous experience. John Curtin's been travelling to the States for, well, let's say 4 or 5 decades. He's the man who's going to host the tour. It's right throughout October. You leave on October the 1st. You need to go to harnesslink.com for all of the information there. You'll be going to the yearling sales at Lexington, the London Classic Yearling Sale and the Indiana Hoosier Class Yearling Sale, and you'll be heading to Lexington's Red Mile, the Breeders' Crown Elimination and Finals at Hoosier Park, and Ontario Sire Stakes Super Finals at Woodbine. So, gee, this is a wonderful tour there, Matthew. Not ideal for you and I, given it's October and it's building into Cup time, but anyone who's ever thought about wanting to go over to the States and check out what harness racing is all about, that would be a month that you would never, ever forget.
Yeah, it's like the trips that Wheels does over to Cheltenham, always something that is of interest to people, and you might even catch up with Dexter Dunn while you're over there as well, Greg, which would be ideal. Yeah, great trip, and I'm sure that it'll be a sellout crowd for 1J Curtin to take on tour.
Yeah, so go to harnesslink.com and all of the details are there for you. Let's continue with our preview. Thursday's a big day. We go to Kindergarten Stakes Day to have a look at this horse, Vessem, in the hands of Blair Orange, winning on debut. There's a bit to like about the way Vessem went in this race. Also, it's stablemate Major Hot, who's wide out in the hands of Olivia Thornley. Vessem by Vincent out of Imka B. Hazel Van Opsieland is involved in this one, and they don't go a whole lot better on debut, do they?
His trials were good. His trials were really good, and like you know more than anybody, Greg, when the All-Stars trial their horses, they don't really push them. But he'd shown enough in his trials to say that he's got a nice high cruising speed. I don't know about him being able to go forward and dictate the race. I think there's a horse in there from the Brett Gray stable who's going to be hard to beat by the name of So Do You Have Time. This horse showed really good gate speed in the non-tote trial to win last week in the hands of Brent Barclay. And he extended probably as good as what Vessem did at Addington. So if you're betting into it, you look at it and you think, All-Stars, yep, happy days, that's me. Look out for So Do You Have Time. I think he's a horse that will be running a fairly cheeky race there on Thursday.
Yeah, they have time breeding, so Brent Barclay takes the drive there. Kirsten Green, who I don't think she would have driven for the All-Stars before. I may be wrong there, but I don't actually remember it. So its price is $250, $320s for So Do You Have Time, and $320 also for Major Hot. So that's the Macca Lodge Kindergarten Stakes. Gee, it's going to be a good race. They also have a Southland Oaks heat there, and they have a Southern Supremacy heat. He's a good horse, this guy, Matthew. Da Vinci is his name. He was brave on this occasion, and he's putting together a really good record, now the winner of 4 of 9.
And the horse that he beats here, and only narrowly, Boris O'Kane, came out a couple of days later and won at Wingatui. He's got the record, he's got the run under his belt. The fact that Craig Ferguson is driving the horse, I guess that we can get some sort of lead with him having 3 runners in the race, that this could be the pick of them. But his other 2 horses, Wag Star and Cormac Leo, both talents in their own right. Cormac Leo, I was really impressed with his maiden win at the Addington Raceway. He's a robust son of Sweet Lou, and there was nothing wrong with the run of Wag Star on debut either. And then you throw in Major Talk, whose race hardened at the Addington Raceway. Good race. Really good race, which I think will be a very tactical battle over the mile, Greg. I'm quite intrigued with that at 128 on Thursday.
Yeah, good 11-race card down there, $10,000 minimums, the Macca Lodge Kindergarten Stakes, the feature, and yeah, just a really good Southern program. Looking forward to that, as we are Thursday night, because this is the precursor, of course, to the race by Grins. Here's copy that. Here he is winning. We know what happened on the bend. Obviously self-assured, locking wheels. That took him out of play. Old Town Road hitting the line strongly. Smithy's tear in the middle there. Can go through on the inside. That effectively got him a slot in the race by Grins. And Akuta making up good ground down the outside. So this is an important lead-up race, but it won't necessarily give us a clear indication of where the winner's going to come from, Matthew, because the barrier draw for this race is a preferential draw. Therefore, the horses rated highest have supposedly drawn the worst marbles. Drawn well, a Chimichurri leaves the gate very quickly in 2. obviously Andrew and Lynn Neal's runner in Nicholas Cage. Now, I spoke to Andrew about his performance last time. He had a respiratory infection. He is over that. He said, I believe I've got him back to his previous start. Andrew and Lynn have said they think he's bang on again. He leaves the machine very quickly. I don't see them going back at the start here. What that also does, though, with both of those leaving quickly, is brings both a Cooter and Copy That through from the second row. Now, over a mile at Cambridge, that's crucial because you only run to the winning post and there's a lap to go. And at this level, if you're off the pace, it makes it extremely hard to make that ground up.
And bearing in mind, there's $1 million race in 7 days' time as well, Greg. So I would say where they settle, heading around the corner the first time, is where they will race. And you're right, the potential is that Copy That could be parked with a Cooter breathing down his neck in the 1-1. I think they're the two horses, Greg. I guess we can talk all we like about the race by Grins, but we won't really know what's going to happen there until the barrier draws come out. But for this week, and this week only, I think around Copy That and Akuta, it's going to be a sprint up the lane. Maybe Copy That with the advantage of being in front of Akuta, but yeah, I don't mind that price about Akuta. He should get a pretty good run through.
Yeah, well, they race for a good stake. It's $45,000, this one with Dunstan. But you're right, it is punter beware because the $1 million race is the next week. Having a look at where the market sits for it, the favourite at this stage is Old Town Road, 320. Now, I spoke to John Dickey about his charge. He's also had a respiratory infection. He thinks he's pretty close, but this race will absolutely bring him on where he fits into this. Do they press the button early? I doubt it. I think they'll just looking for a running line sort of position. So 320 for him. Nicholas Cage, 750. $5 for a Cooter, $4.20 for Copy That. That's the Dunstan Horse Feeds Flying Mile. Goes at 8:32 on Thursday night. The race by Grins, the big news this week, Matthew, obviously the Hole in the Wall group have taken No Matter What. Now, I spoke to Mark Purdon about that. He trains with his son Nathan. He didn't see that coming. He thought they might come for Bollinger off the back of his win last time at group race level, but they've gone for No Matter What. She's a mare. She therefore draws barrier 1. What was your initial reaction when you heard that she was taking the final slot?
Yeah, interesting. I wasn't surprised, Greg. I personally wasn't set on one or two horses that I thought would take the slot. I thought that there was a group of probably 10 horses, maybe a little less, that would be deserved of that. And I think that looking at the decision, it is the right decision. When you're slot holders, last slot left, you get a mare, you're guaranteed barrier 1. She's a Group 1 winner already. She is flying. There's that little if about her with her gait, that little if. But from all reports, she's going to have Tony Hurley on board, which is only going to aid her chances from barrier number 1. And she's going to be on the pegs the entire way. And you'd be fairly confident that she'd be able to run 237, 238 if she had to. So she could make it interesting. And the mare, as we've seen, Greg, she can stay all day like the mother-in-law. So if she gets a nice run on the pegs and some of those other bigger, gruntier, higher-rated boys have to do a bit of work, it could be a bit of girl power in the race by Grins.
I'm pleased you said that and not me. Let's have a look at the market. $3.60 for Copy That in the race by Grins. Akuta $4.20, Old Town Road the same, Self Assured $4.80. Also asked Mark Purdon about him. He said, I don't think he's too far off where he was last year. In fact, he's going as well, according to him. Big news, of course, last week about Natalie Rasmussen picking up the drive there. BD Joe $7.50, Better Eclipse about $15, Kango and Nicholas Cage $31. And of course, $17 the price put up by the bookies on No Matter What. Just on that barrier draw, it will be conducted on Monday evening. That's Easter Monday, 6 p.m. You can listen to it on SENZ and also just go to Cambridge, the Cambridge website, because they're looking to do it on live stream too. So there'll be information there about that. Garrard Sire Stakes heat on Thursday night too. Merlin, the winner of the Woodlands Northern Derby. Here he is in the trail behind Son of Mac. This was his derby to lose. He didn't lose it, Matthew, and I doubt he'll lose this week from barrier 1.
Yeah, it'll be interesting what happens at the start here, Greg. 1,700 metres. He can lead. Maybe a better horse coming from a trail. The Sooner the Better come for a look, but then Todd Mitchell, driver of Sooner the Better, is going to look left at the start. and see two All-Stars runners, particularly one, Sinbad, who's going great guns at the moment. So the start's going to be paramount. Yes, he's the horse to beat off barrier number 1, but I wouldn't be surprised to see there be a couple maybe come out for a wee bit of a Bo Peep at the start. I don't think they'll let him away with it, but all things being equal, Greg, it does see him being very hard to stop.
Yeah, absolutely it does. His price $1.40. He'll be a lock for most people through their multis. $4.80 for Sinbad, who will have the services of Natalie Rasmussen, and double figures the rest, including Sooner the Better at $14. Next race we want to have a look at for Thursday night is the Charlie Hunter. Congrazia Love's in front here, but what you haven't seen, Matthew, is the work she did. Double Delight gets her measure, but gee, she was brave. She was only second up in this campaign. She's the Oaks winner, as we know. I thought she dropped into this race beautifully, and if she performs to her optimum, she's on her home track. She's already won 2 races there. She's only off 10 metres. She's got a terrific standing start record. There's a lot of ticks there.
And you look at her up the straight there, she just wants to get herself balanced to run out the Auckland way. So going back the Cambridge way left-handed, I reckon you'll see maybe a horse 3 to 5 lengths better than what you do at Alexandra Park, Greg. So that's a massive factor for her. Going back left-handed after a couple of very strong runs on what doesn't look to be her favoured way at Alexandra Park. She's a good mare, and I'm looking forward to seeing her, Greg, because she's going to be really hard to beat. And she looks a pretty good bet there on Thursday night.
Yep, absolutely she does. 5:09 the start time for the 12-race program. So a big program there for David Branch and the team as they build towards the race by Grins. Looking forward to the Thursday night action. Speaking of David Branch, earlier in the week, this is pre the news about No Matter What finding her spot in the race by Grins. I got a chance to talk to David about the build-up, about everything to do with the race on Friday week, and here's what he had to say in a pretty candid interview. Well, David, I suppose the build-up to this year's the race by Grins has got a different feel to it as it was the inaugural running last year.
Yeah, for sure. I think everyone's learnt a bit from the last running, and we've all sort of know how it works a bit more, and we've also had more time for the lead in. I think this time, sort of early February, late January last year, we were just sort of locking in the slot holders. So having that extra time definitely takes a bit of pressure off, that's for sure.
All right, you've got 9 of the 10 slots locked and loaded, and this week you have the Flying Mile, which is basically the Shadow Field. So it's almost the perfect storm, although there's still a bit of toing and froing to go for that last horse that everybody's waiting for.
Yeah, definitely. Noms have just closed when we're recording this for the Flying Mile, and it's stacked up to be a great field. So just shows that they're making that call to move that to the week out and using it as the lead-up race has worked. The Aussies obviously won't be there, so that still adds that bit of intrigue when we get down to the having them meet in the $1 million race. So yeah, it's exciting. It's going to be interesting seeing them all come together a week out. That's for sure.
Yeah, especially with Better Eclipse and obviously Triple Eight coming and having the Greek Sugars, the man they call the Candy Man, and Jess Tubbs factor. We know how important the Aussies being involved in the race by Grins last year was.
Yeah, and I think having Chris Alford driving Triple Eight as well, that just adds something else. So a few storylines coming together that you couldn't have probably scripted better. Obviously, Kango having David Butcher and Zachary having a drive as well. The other having another local, Lennon Andrews horse, Nicholas Cage too, just adds so much from getting the local community involved. So yeah, a few storylines coming together, which is really cool to see.
All right, the other new element you've brought in, well, there's a couple, but let's talk about the sweepstake and what you're trying to achieve there. How are the sales going? When do they close? And the all-important barrier draw, and that's what we all keep talking about in the media, how significant it's going to be this year. When will that be conducted, and how can people either A, view it, or B, listen to it?
Yeah, so the barrier draw will be on the Monday night, so Easter Monday. We're just waiting on the time to be confirmed, but it will be done live on SENZ. So everyone will be able to tune in on the radio, but also we'll have a live stream, hopefully, of the numbers laid out similar to what we did last year. So exciting to have it on that platform. I think that'll be really good. And as you said, so much is going to come down to that all-important barrier draw. At the moment, I'm still not sure what that last horse is going to be, but obviously the preferential conditions don't come into play for 3-year-olds or mares at this stage. So that means it's all there to play for, which is really exciting. Yeah.
All right. So just on the sweepstake then, when will those horses be drawn to the respective lucky ticket holders?
Yeah, so that draw will happen at 10 o'clock on the Monday morning under police supervision here at the Raceway, but we'll use the barrier draw event to announce those winners and also to allocate them to the horses. So that'll be worth tuning in to hear that as well.
All right, ticket sales-wise for the race by Grins, and of course you have Mitch James playing after the last. Now, the last race will be held just before 9 o'clock, so Mitch will play as soon as the horses are cleared from the track, and people can start to really revel in what should be an outstanding occasion at Cambridge Raceway. Yeah, we just obviously got everything crossed for the weather, but hopefully that plays its part like it did last year. So yeah, the last race, the race by Grins, will be our last one at 8:55. And then we'll need about 20-25 minutes to clear the track from the presentations, and to get the stage is going to be set up in the middle of the track, and then the party will be on the track about the 100-metre mark in front of the grandstand. So really excited to see that all come together. Ticket sales are going really well, much better than any other event we've put on here in the past. So I'm still confident we're going to potentially sell out hit our 5,000 before gates open, essentially, which is cool. Yeah, absolutely. It's an outstanding effort. Just on the program on the night itself, you've got a minimum of 20,000, so that's really been stepped up from the year before. And you've got the Trotters Flying Mile 2, which should include Aldebaran Zeus, the Brett Lilly charge. So, yeah, again, some Australian interest there, and obviously Chris Alford will be doing the steering. Yeah, I think it's going to be a really good support card, especially seeing the nominations that we've got for our race meeting on this Thursday night and only having 8 races. So, yeah, as you said, we've got the Trotters Flying Mile, so that's found its new home there, which is it's good, and hopefully we get a good field there. We've got a Country Cups heat as well, and a fillies and mares trot too. So yeah, that's definitely going to add to it, because obviously last year that needed a bit of work, and yeah, pleased to see what comes from that. All right, there's a few bulls still in the year. There's still plenty of work to be done, but best place to go is cambridgeraceway.co.nz, particularly around the sweepstake tickets. I know you've got a huge push in the Cambridge region about trying to get rid of a few more of those, but even if you did sell them out, you basically got 1 in 200 chance of drawing a horse and a chance to win 50,000. So if you want to support anything this year, this is the greatest opportunity for you, I think, to support the code of harness racing. Yeah, definitely. I mean, the reason we're doing it is to top up the stakes, so we're not drawing on industry funds essentially for that. So, as you said, we're probably halfway there with the sweepstake tickets. So a big push this week, and would love to sell all 2,000. As you said, essentially a 1 in 200 chance of drawing a horse to be running in the race. And if you draw one, the minimum you're going to walk away with is $2,000. So, and then of course that first prize of 50,000, which is a significant amount for someone to win. So that's coming together really well. We're really pleased with it, and it's adding a whole nother dimension to the race. So yeah. All right, really appreciate your time on the box seat and everything you're doing to market and promote this wonderful occasion that will be on Thursday week. Thanks so much for your time, and good luck in the build-up. Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Greg. So you can't knock what David and the team are trying to do there, Matthew. They've obviously got $1 million race, which is a huge carrot. They got Mitch James playing after the last race. The last race is the race by Grins, so they want people to stay on. They're trying to create an event which attracts a whole wide spectrum of people to come to harness racing and experience it. So yeah, you've got to like what they're having a crack at.
Yeah, very proactive. And they would have learnt a lot from last year. They did last year really well. And being there on course, there was a buzz, a different buzz to a Cup Day or a Derby Day or a Karaka Million Day for the Gallops. It just had that real kind of electric feel about it. So I can't wait for the race by Grins. I think they're doing the right thing by putting the race as the last race, giving everybody a chance to build through to it at the back end of the night. And obviously, the race itself has to put on the spectacle, Greg, but the field that's assembled, I can't see how it won't.
No, absolutely. And, of course, the sweepstake, Matthew, which is another element they've thrown in there. There's only 2,000 tickets, and you've got 1 in 200 chance of drawing a horse. And if you happen to win or draw the winner, it's $50,000. Now, I can update you. I've put together a wee syndicate. the majority shareholder will be our charity of choice, Breast Cancer, the foundation that we've been trying to raise money via our investments each and every week, Matthew, that have had a good start to it and not so good in the back end. So we have taken 25 tickets in it, and will be part of the draw. So if you see the box seat name come up against one of those 10 horses, you know that the majority of it is for breast cancer. So big thank you to Michael Guerin, to Graham Hand getting involved. We'll put some money in as well, and yeah, looking forward to hopefully drawing one horse. But if you haven't got your tickets, go to Cambridge Raceway. There's all the details there. You can put the money straight in the bank to avoid some bank fees, and yeah, you'll be part of the draw, which will be done on Monday morning under police supervision, and then those will be announced as the barrier draws come out for the race by Grins too, as part of that SENZ live draw on 6 p.m. on Monday evening. Short break for us here on Your Box Seat. A big thank you to our stable of sponsors. On the other side, we'll wrap up all things harness racing, tell you where you can go this week, give you some ownership opportunities via Stonewall Stud, and Matthew and I, and Hand Milking, will try and find you a winner or three. Here's the IRT maiden win of the week, Matthew. Sunny Sister, by name, you've worked out it's Sunday Sun's sister, and this was a performance. Crowned the moment in seconds heading north, as we heard from Greg Hope earlier, but I know she's got some manners issues and she needs to get a few things ironed out, but gee, there was a lot of similarities there. I'm not going to try and compare her to her older brother, but there's a bit going forward, isn't there?
If you played a replay, Greg, of Sundy's son when he was a 2-year-old trotting up the straight, and Sunny's sister, as she is now trotting up the straight, they are very similar to watch. Obviously, she needs to have the heart the size that he does, and the set of lungs and the willingness to do the job. But physically, even watching the head-on shot, now we've all seen Sundy's son getting up the straight where he kind of dishes that leg out a little bit, one straight, one dishes out. She's exactly the same. And you watch her during the prelim, they get around, they prance and strut their stuff. It'll be interesting if they chance their arm and maybe take her to Auckland and try for a Northern Trotting Oaks, Greg. On the Ultimate Racebook, she's run 27 and change for her last quarter. Maiden trotters just don't run those sort of times. If you break 29 for a maiden trotter, you're going good. She's gone 5 to 10 lengths faster than average at the Addington Raceway. So she's a special horse. I think that the mobile is going to really aid her chances if she can hold it together as well with those age group races. Best maiden trot win I've seen for quite some time, Greg. Really, really impressive. Sundy's son was very much like her, very quirky at the start of his career, and then the penny dropped. And once the penny dropped, he was scary good, as we know. So, as I say, hopefully all of the internals, the heart, the lungs, the willingness are there. If they are, she's got a huge future. And yeah, Colin and Nancy here might have found themselves another piece of gold in the trotting world.
Yeah, we'll certainly watch her progress with interest. Now, last week we showed you the first in a series of opportunities for you to get involved in yearlings with the Stonewall. We know they purchased 30 at the sales. So this week, and we're showing you all the colts, this is lot 184. Andover Hall out of Smitten. She's already left Caress, who's won 7 races, 5% share, just $951 and a little bit of change there. It's the family of Kahola, who left Cardon, who won the Northern Derby, Matatoki, Matuatana. So it's a good family. Here's lot 196, the Captain Treacherous, a Christian Act colt. They paid $50,000 for him, a 5% share there at $3,187. 3 foals to race, all of them winners. A delightful act who's won 14 races, 10 of those in the US. A better act, half a dozen wins. And this is the family of two-time Group 1 winner Classical. Here's lot 208 by Fear the Dragon out of Azajar. 33,000 they paid, $2,160 if you want to take a share in it. This is a Macca Lodge draft, 2 foals to race, 2 winners. Shenandoah, who's won about 14 races in WA, and the Maharani. And here's the last of the offerings this week, the Captain Treacherous Arden Choice, the Arden Lodge colt, 8,600 at a 5% share. You can take more if you like. This is the family, the Second Dam's Winter Rose, who of course left the Victoria Cup winner in Bedder's Strike, and South Coast Arden. So yeah, some deep families there, Matthew, and you've got to take your hats off to the Stonewall team, Steve Stockman. Obviously Steve Telfer, and Jill does all the business with this, so the best place to go is to give her a ring. Just look up Stonewall Stud, all of her details are there. She'll find you a share in one of those horses, and over the next couple of weeks we'll show you a few more to have a look at too. But one thing you know, they'll be done properly. They've got beautiful facilities, still working on their facilities here in Christchurch, which we'll get a chance to get out to at some stage. But yep, if you're keen on a share, Matthew, you could do worse than go to Stonewall.
I tell you one horse I'd love a share in, Greg, and I'd love to own the whole thing of him, and that's a horse called Ahoka Connor. He shouldn't have won the other night, sitting parked outside them, and for him to pick up the winner like he did was a super effort. So Southern Supremacy likely for him now. And to be fair, he's such a big, robust horse. He has just got Derby written all over him, Ahoka Connor. You can lock him in as a horse to follow. You, if you're a harness racing fan, you've clearly seen him already and probably thought the same thing. But if you, for one reason or another, haven't heard of Ahoka Connor, look him up. Go and watch his wins, because the Stonewall team have got themselves a really nice horse. Obviously, he does need to take that next step up, but Addington on Friday night, Greg, showed that there's a big motor there, and he's still very raw as well. So the next 12 months could be very fruitful for him.
Yeah, absolutely they will be. He's 4 from 4 now. He was purchased out of the Brett Gray barn. Tim Williams went down and trialled him, and he said, you've just got to have this horse. So it's an unusual pathway for them. They don't normally buy them that way, but gee, I'll tell you what, he is a horse with a big, big motor. Let's have a look at where you can go harness racing around Aotearoa over the Easter weekend. We mentioned the Macca Lodge Kindergarten Stakes, 45,000 Group 2 level. They've got a big program down there, in fact 11 races, 12 races out of Cambridge, the first at 5:09, 45,000 they play for in the Group 2 Waikato Flying Mile. That is with Dunstan Horse Feeds. Addington Saturday, they've ended up with 11 races, so looking forward to that program too. And of course they have the Superstars as their feature, and Motukarara, the field's just not out for those, but 12:12 the start time on Monday, so that back to that Addington meeting. 1:34 is when the race day does kick off. So an unusual time frame there for Addington. What used to be huge, of course, they used to have about 5 or 6 Group 1s on Easter Saturday a few years ago, but they've got a good program with the racing rewards, obviously the Coca-Cola Superstars, and some depth amongst many of the support card as well. Matthew, we need to lift our game on this program in terms of getting some more money for breast cancer, especially seeing now I've invested some of it into the Cambridge sweepstake. Now, you and I didn't confer, we just sent through our top tip, and it ended up being the same horse, Franco Cornell, so I've allowed you to stick with him, but he does look hard to beat.
He does. 2,600, up his alley. Robert and Jenna Dunn, stable going well. It's been going great guns off the unruly, and as I mentioned, there should be a competitive speed up front in those 2,600 metre races there on Sunday. It's not a deep field. I think he'll be winning, Greg, so he's the best bet of the day. I really tried to find something else for you across the card that you could really single out and back, but I think it might be one of those days, Greg, where you're kind of multiing up some of those place or top 4 prices, particularly with those horses that you think might be finding themselves in a good position. But if you had to have one win bet for the day, Greg, we're kicking off nice and early. Franco Cornell, he's the one in race 3.
Yeah, race 3, number 14, Franco Cornell for Matthew. I went with Congrazia Love. I don't know what odds the bookies are going to put up. I'm imagining they'll be pretty short, but oh gee, I think she looks hard to beat. She takes her place in the 7th here at Cambridge on Thursday night, and if the same horse that turned up and won the Oaks, or the horse that even raced last time behind Double Delight turns up, then she's going to take all sorts of beating off the 10 metres. So Matthew and I will multi up Franco Cornell and Congrazia Love. Graham Hand, he has gone with Wagstar in that 4th on the program out of Wyndham. So race 4, number 3, Wagstar into Treacherous Gal, who he actually got home last week. So race 10, number 8, that is the multi for Graham. Of course, no Michael Guerin this week, Matthew, but over the last couple of weeks he's found the winners. As he said, it's not an easy scenario for us because, 1, we're looking at the fields earlier in the week, but 2, we're trying to find a horse each that then multis up so that we can get a collect, and that doesn't always work either. He went with No Matter What last week because it was $1.70 and he thought it was a lock, and well, it proved it was, and as a result of that performance, she's now in the race by Grins. So, yeah, not always that easy, not making excuses, just trying to make some money for what is a great cause.
Is he back next week, the brand?
Yep, he'll be back.
Nice.
He'll be back.
Oh, yeah. It's been good jumping in, Greg, and
yeah, appreciate it.
Covering for him, and I'll see you next time.
What's the one race, Matthew, that you're looking forward to this week? And before you go, I need to get pre-barrier draw. I know it's not easy. Your selection, your on-top selection in the race by Grins. But what's the race this week that you think, I need to watch this?
The Coca-Cola Superstars, for sure. At Addington, 2,600 metres, Group 2. Some of the horses that have been really competitive over the start of autumn, I think deserve their shot at a good level there on Saturday afternoon. So that's the most open and intriguing race, I think. And
it's not easy, mate, I know.
You want one. I'm going to say Self Assured.
Okay. You think you can go back-to-back in the race by Grins?
I've seen so many times where when it matters, you just want him on your team, Self Assured. And I would have loved to have seen the other night at Alexandra Park the race unfold for him where things didn't go wrong on the home turn. But at the quarter peg, Tony Hurley, he just looked like he had lapfuls of horse. And if Mark Purdon is telling you that he's going as good as he was last year, that's good enough for me. And Natalie Rasmussen on board, by the way, who needs to probably get out there a bit more than what she has been in recent times, more for the punter's benefit than anyone. But yeah, Self Assured is the one. I love Copy That. I really do. And Akuta. But because you're putting me on the spot, I'm going with the old faithful Self Assured. For you, right. I'm putting you on the spot now. You're not getting away with that.
I'm actually going to go for him as well. If he draws 1 to 4 and maybe Copy That and Old Town Road, who I love. I really think he's going to be the horse by the end of the season. That is the horse, the one that you want to be on. But I just think Self Assured has the all-round game, so I'm absolutely with him at this stage as well. That could all change at 6 o'clock on Monday evening. Make sure you tune in to hear the all-important barrier draw for the race by Grins. Matthew, thanks again for your time. Really appreciate it. On a race day for you as well. Good luck with your calls at Ashburton, but I will certainly see you in 7 days' time, and Matthew will be in when the brand doesn't decide to turn up again. The Box Seat brought to you by our stable of sponsors. Harness Link for your worldwide harness coverage. New Zealand Bloodstock Standardbred, where winning begins. Brecon Farms. Stonewall Stud. IRT, it's your horse and our passion. Australasian-wide Garrard's Horse and Hound. Renwick Farms. Lincoln Farms. Harness Racing New Zealand. And the clubs Addington, Ashburton, Alexandra Park and Cambridge.